Hello and welcome to Just Ride Bikes. I'm David and you join me for a video to look back at some of the best standout bikes I've ridden in the past 12 months. And my criteria for the bikes in today's video isn't about being the lightest, the fastest, the most aero, the most expensive. Just the bikes that impressed me the most, the ones I enjoyed riding the most, gave me the most pleasure as a cyclist. So let's dive in with the first bike in today's video, the brand new Specialized S-Works Aethos. I've always liked the Aethos for the simple classic lines, the way it looks, the non-drop rear stays, the round tube profiles and external routing and bottom brackets and seat clamp, and of course the low weight. It's still, despite being 4 years old, one of the lightest bikes you can buy on the market right now. And the new version launched this year isn't any lighter, it's still damn light, but has a few useful changes to make it even more better suited to the people actually buying the bike, because the people buying this bike aren't buying it for racing, but for the sheer pleasure of riding a lightweight bike. So we have bigger tyre clearance, which is definitely a good change, and we now have a higher stack, so handlebars in a higher position, so less racy than before, and there's full internal routing up front, which are our pros and cons to, of course, but it does look better and looks cleaner than the old bike. So for me, not a drastic update over the old bike, but retains everything I loved about the old bike, the ride quality, the smoothness, the handling, and just makes that geometry a bit more relaxing for us non-racing enthusiasts, and the ability to fit a bigger tyre than you could on the old bike, and still incredibly lightweight, a 585 gram frame weight and a bike weighing about 6 kilos with a top end group set. So not a radical new bike by any stretch of the imagination, no mad aero at all, but a classic bike, a really beautiful bike and a really nice riding bike with some useful updates to ensure it's still a good choice going into 2026 and beyond. So one of my standout bikes of 2025, the Specialized S-Works Aethos. A bike that really surprised me this year was the Blackheart Road AL from the LA-based company. And it surprised me because it's made from aluminium, but rides as smoothly as a carbon fiber bike, which isn't always the case with alloy. Aluminium is a fantastic material and I have a soft spot for the frame material. I own two CAD 12s. Some of the best bikes I've ever ridden are made from alloy and not carbon fiber, but most people crave carbon fiber. What pros ride is more desirable, and alloy is sadly overlooked for that reason. But Blackheart put a spotlight back on aluminium and proved that when done well, it can compete with carbon fiber, both in terms of performance, that stiffness, that responsiveness, the weight, and also the compliance and the smoothness as well. It looked tremendous. A range of colours are available, a very modern looking bike with a one-piece carbon handlebar and stem, generous tyre clearance, UDH dropout, so all the modern details you want on a bike, and a reasonable price for an alloy. I mean, it's not cheap, it's not a bargain bike like many entry-level alloy bikes are. Definitely a premium aluminium bike, but one that can definitely save you a fair amount of money when compared to a carbon fiber bike with a similar level of components on it. So that bike really surprised me, and a bike that, if I had the money and space, I could happily see myself adding to the Just Ride Bikes stable of bikes. But yeah, I have too many bikes right now. I need to clear out next year before I bring any more bikes in. So yeah, proves that you shouldn't judge a bike by the material the frame is made from. Mixing things up a little bit here and sticking with alternative frame materials, one of my favourite bikes of all time, the Fairlight Cycle Secan, the UK company's gravel bike, got an update this year, and I built a bike with the new SRAM Force group set, and it's been one of my standout bikes of the last 12 months. I still own an original Secan from 5, 6, 7 years ago, which I still ride occasionally, but a new version, not a massive step forward in terms of changes, lots of refinements, visual refinements and functional improvements, and it's lighter as well, and now has UDH so I can fit the latest SRAM Explore group set, and in the orange colorway looks amazing and it rides amazing as well. I've really been enjoying riding that bike, and my full review is coming very soon. I haven't actually had time to do a full review on that bike. You can see my first ride on that bike linked down below, but a full review is coming soon. And for me, it's just a reminder of the elegance, the simplicity, and the ride quality of a good steel bike. And I think steel is perfectly suited to the demands of gravel for the tough and tumble of riding off-road. Yeah, it's a bit heavier than carbon fiber, but it's not built to be a race bike, not an aero gravel race bike. It's an adventure bike, it's a bike packing bike, it's a touring bike, it's a road bike. It's a very versatile, multi-purpose bike for whatever you want it to be. And that, yeah, definitely one of my standout bikes. I love the way a steel bike looks, the slender tube profiles, and all the details on the secan are just top notch. Dom at Fairlight really knows what he's doing when it comes to tube profiles, tube shaping, and all the little details, the dropouts, everything on it. Even the little nuts and bolts are done to an insane level of detail. So that's one of my standout bikes of 2025. Another standout bike for me was the number 22 Great Divide disc. Just an extraordinarily beautiful titanium road bike with 3D printed parts on the stem and other parts of the frame. Just looks amazing. You spend hours looking at the bike, appreciating the details on it. There aren't many bikes that have been elevated to another level in a way that number 22 do with their bikes. And if you saw their aero bike at Wilier live recently, you know what sort of stuff they can do with road bikes. But a Great Divide disc is just a really nice, sensible, long distance, mile munching, comfort focused bike, but still sprightly, still engaging, and it rides supremely well. Just a phenomenal bike. Expensive, mine, definitely a sort of lottery winning retirement sort of bike if you really can want to treat yourself to something special. And a very special bike indeed. I felt very fortunate to ride that bike. Number 22 is a brand I've looked up to for a long time. I've really admired the work they put into the bikes are turning out, and riding that bike, yeah, it didn't disappoint at all. It was exceptionally lovely to ride. Another exceptionally lovely bike to ride was the Scarab Santa Rosa Integrated, a Columbus steel framed bike from the Colombian bike brand. I actually went down to Colombia to collect the bike, which was custom built for me from the geometry to the paint finish. I rode it up the world's longest paved climb, El Sifon. That video linked down below in case you missed it. And I did my review on that bike this year, and the bike I still ride. One of my favorite summer bikes. I don't ride in the winter, too nice, but for riding in the summer, it's a lovely bike. And a reminder again, like the Fairlight Cycle Secan, that steel is a fantastic material for a road bike or a gravel bike. Yes, it's heavier than carbon fiber, not as aerodynamic as carbon fiber, but if you're not racing, you just enjoy the simple pleasure of riding a bike on your country lanes and local roads, then a way a steel bike, when done as well as a Scarab, is just a wonderful thing. It's just a wonderful expression of a road bike. No crazy, funky tube profile, simple, elegant round tubes, non-drop rear stays, but some modern details like a T47 bottom bracket and the MV in-route internal routing system with a handlebar, stem and fork. So modern where it needs to be, but traditional where it doesn't have to be, modern just for the sake of being modern. And the wonderful thing about a steel bike like Scarab, it's much easier to get a custom paint finish than a carbon fiber bike, and that's definitely an appeal. And for me, that Scarab is the best looking bike I have in the studio, and probably the best looking bike I've ever owned. It does, yeah, it looks tremendous. Another bike updated this year that really impressed me was the Wilier Rave SLR, the company's aero gravel race bike. The whole aero gravel category is definitely, it's moving on very quickly. With loads of good offerings from Ridley, Cervelo, Canyon and others. And when the Wilier Rave SLR came out 3 years ago, I wasn't that impressed. It was stiff and harsh and just not much fun to ride. But the new version is a big improvement. There's bigger tire clearance than the old bike, and it's definitely right at the sort of forefront of where the big tire clearance scene is going, with space with 53, 54, and it ships with 50mm wide tire, which is definitely a step in the right direction. And more bike brands should take note or fitting a wide tyre from the get-go like this. And with the big tyres fitted, it's now a smooth ride off-road and on crappy, badly maintained country lanes. And that means it's more comfortable, so more fun to ride and not being beaten up so much. And it's faster as well, and it's definitely a fast bike. There's loads of aero profiles borrowed from their Fairlight SLR aero bike. And I could almost overlook the fact there's no down tube storage and you can't fit mudguards for the sheer speed and performance of the bike. And yeah, just really, I think one of the most exciting aero gravel bikes on the market right now. Another really exciting gravel bike that I rode this year was the Argon 18 Dark Matter, because it's one of the few gravel bikes with massive tyre clearance. 57mm tyre clearance on this bike is definitely sort of class leading in that way, meaning you can fit any size gravel tyre you want, or fit a mountain bike tyre too. And the frame is also packed with loads of modern details, with a longer fork, so you can fit a suspension fork if you want, down tube storage, loads of mounts of bike packing, mudguards, internal routing, and the geometry of the bike definitely inspired confidence when riding off-road down my local chunky trails in the Cotswolds. The bike, you can really wallop down some rough trails, and it really does let you hang it out wide and loose and fast. And the bike really surprised me, because I thought, given the geometry compromises with the big tyre clearance, it might be limited in its performance scope off-road, but it's actually had a big bandwidth for riding chunky, fast trails, and a bike I really enjoy riding. And my test on it probably lasted 4 weeks. I would like to ride longer, so hopefully I might try and get another one in for review in 2026 and do a long-term test, or ride somewhere different, or try some different tyres, put some mountain bike tyres, maybe put a suspension fork on there, see how much you can tune that bike. So that for me, while the Wilier Rave SLR is all about fast, the Argon 18 is all about, for me, bike packing, ultra distance adventures. You're going a long way on your own, you need luggage, you want that suspension fork option, you want big tyres, a bike that's almost a blank canvas for tuning, for modifying, for whatever you're doing. There's no limit to that bike, because it has all the modern details and the big tyre clearance, and lets you build the bike you want. Bikes are definitely expensive these days, aren't they? But there were two bikes that really impressed me for the value for money they offered this year. The first one was the brand new Boardman SLR. Not only a great value package available at a range of bills starting from not very much, going up to still not very much, but also for how it really taps into the sort of riding that lots of enthusiast cyclists are doing, not pro racing aspirational people, and especially Brits as well, with the crappy weather we have to endure for, I don't know, 5-6 months of the year. So a conventional looking carbon fiber aero bike, but then space with 35mm wide tyres, so more than most road race bikes, and mudguard fender mounts as well. So a bike that can be your summer road race bike, but also then your winter road bike with mudguards and bigger tyres fitted. So a really progressive bike in that way. The geometry is fairly typical of a race bike, like a tarmac, for example. So fairly racy, but not super aggressive. So you can have it fairly laid back if you want, with a few spaces under the stem. So that for me is a really versatile platform, and I rode it in two builds: a race build with aero handlebar and deep section wheels, and a sort of Ultegra spec with mudguards, and a bike that in any shape or form really impressed. Probably not the smoothest riding bike in the world, and I think the seat post is too big really to allow the saddle to flex back and forth. But yeah, really good value package. Sadly only available in the UK, and only available in very small numbers as well. So I think they sold out pretty much straight away. And another bike that sold out straight away, and it's no surprise really, was the Canyon Endurace Allroad, which cost £1,000. This featured a nice aluminium frame with sort of all-road endurance geometry and tyre clearance. So not trying to be a road race bike, but a step back from a road race bike, more of an all-round bike for commuting, long distance touring, getting into road riding for the first time, fitness-based riding, doing a sporty or audax, and really shows what you can get for not a lot of money. And yes, £1,000 is still a lot of cash, but it shows that a brand can really work some magic in that price range and give you a high performance bike with nothing wrong about it at all, that won't hold you back on whatever adventure you have planned for it. And I did a nice wheel upgrade test on the bike, and it really shows what a simple upgrade, if you have a bit of money down the road, can do to a bike like that. So the starting point, that upgrade potential, that upgrade path is really good on a bike like that. But kept in its stock form, it's a fantastic bike and really did impress me a lot. So a lot of bike for not a lot of cash. And another bike that really stood out for me this year and definitely left a strong impression, but sadly a crazy expensive bike, was the Argonaut Supernaut RM3, which I rode earlier in the year, and I took to Calpe. So carbon fiber road bike made in Colorado. There aren't many bikes made in the US these days, so very rare thing. And the ride quality of the bike was just phenomenal. I mean, I've ridden a lot of top-end bikes, a lot of carbon fiber top-end bikes, and they all ride really well. But sometimes you ride a bike that just rides a step above everything else. And this was a case of a bike that's definitely in a league of its own. Just a combination of stiffness when you're stamping the pedals, you're sprinting, attacking, or just doing 400 watts, whatever it might be. But also a wonderful smoothness, the way it just floats over even the crappiest roads here in the UK or in Spain, it was just tremendous. And just the elegance, the manners the bike displayed, the handling quality of the bike was just phenomenal. It looks amazing, that raw carbon weave on show. Just like the number 22 Great Divide disc, it's definitely a sort of retirement treat or a lottery winning bike. Because if you bought that bike, if I owned that bike, I wouldn't ride anything else ever again. It'd be the only bike I ever ride. It was simply superb. So that definitely left an impression on me. There are quite a few bikes worth an honourable mention in today's video as well that did impress me, but not as greatly as the 10 I've already mentioned today. And they include the brand new BMC Teammachine SLR, an update to the company's all-round lightweight do-everything road bike that's lighter than ever before and a bit more aero as well. Not as light as a specialised aethos, but as a good all-rounder. You want a bike that performs well on the climbs, it descends well, and it's reasonably aero. This bike really impressed and definitely gave me everything I wanted in a race bike if I'm not actually racing. Another bike that continues to impress is the latest 10th generation Giant TCR Advanced PRO, a bike I really enjoy riding. Not the most exciting update ever, but a bike that continues to be a popular choice, an easy bike to recommend, and a bike that just rides extremely well and offers good value for money as well. Another interesting bike was the Basso SV, made by the Italian company, and a bike trying to be sort of racy and aerodynamic and sleek looking, but not trying to cater to pros who are paid to ride bikes, but to us regular people who want the thrills and speed of a race bike, but dial back a bit to make it more usable and more comfortable for riding we actually do. And that's a bike that definitely intrigued me quite a bit. More relaxed geometry, quite relaxed riding style without being an endurance bike, but not quite as agile and flighty as a race bike. And talking race bikes, the latest generation Colnago V5RS, again, not the most exciting update. It's still the same as the V4RS, just a bit lighter and a bit more aero, and it does ride extremely well. And while Tade's proven that bike is extremely fast, although they switched to the Y1RS aero bike, it's not the most exciting bike. It's a hard bike to get as excited about as the Colnago C68 is, in my opinion. And then finally, two gravel bikes worth mentioning as well. The updated Canyon Grizl CF, still a great bike to ride off-road, an easy bike to recommend, good value for money as always from Canyon. The single carbon frame is available in a wide range of builds with a rigid carbon fork, a suspension fork, and a long distance version with a dynamo powering front and rear lights, internal frame battery, and a crazy handlebar as well. You can have that bike however you want it for whatever riding you are doing. And if you're riding off-road, it's more kind of technical and tame mountain bike trails, as I like to call them, than the Parlee Taos was definitely a bike that stood out, having more sort of mountain bike inspired geometry than most racier gravel bikes, a longer fork, so you can fit a suspension fork, big tyre clearance, nice high stack and a short reach, a bike that's definitely more at home riding off-road in the same way as like the BMC ERS, the Wilier Adler, the 51 Assassin, those sort of adventure orientated bikes rather than the race aero bikes like the Wilier Rave SLR. So those then are 10 of the best bikes I rode in 2025. There are loads more bikes I rode, of course, and trying to whittle down all the bikes into just a top 10 and really, really tough. And you see all the ones I missed out by watching the playlist up here. And if you want to see a review of some of these bikes here, then you can go to reviews just there. Loads of reviews of loads of cool bikes, definitely worth checking out. And do let me know which of these bikes floats your boat and which don't, and what bikes were your highlights of the past 12 months by dropping a comment down below. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.